official podcast of FCS Fans Nation, with your hosts Kylor Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Jamie Williams.
FCS Fans Nation, cheers, mimosas, Bloody Marys, wine, beer, water maybe, heck of soda. Welcome to the FCS Fans Nation bracket reveal special. No, this is not Temple versus Elon and a breakdown of that. This is not basketball. We are awaiting the selection show, which is going to kick off your guys 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. Myself, Matthew Frazee, Chris Hammond, Jamie Williams, Kylor Neal. Holy moly, 70 viewers, and it keeps going up. Welcome to the best spot to watch the selection show, because you're going to be able to watch it live and get live reactions. Your comments will be included. Your questions will be included. No point of just watching ESPN Talking Heads. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're finally here. Let's take this sucker from 123 teams down to 24. And how excited are you? Normal folks, Jamie, Kylor, myself, Chris, welcome. Almost a guest host today. How are you feeling, my man, as we get ready for the selection show?
You know, it's the best time of the year. It is a Sunday party. 24 teams punch their ticket to complete all their season goals, to win the ship. It all starts today. There's going to be some teams that are going to be incredibly sad, but there are going to be a lot of teams that are incredibly happy.
Oh, my goodness. It's going to be fun. Guys, we got a little bit of time before things kick off. Obviously, 11:30 Central is when these things start. So why don't we just start with some basic questions? Chris, let me get your thoughts first. You weren't part of our mock bracket special we did this year. However, something that we kind of discussed was, what would be a team for you outside of the obvious teams that you would be shocked not to see in the field? Don't give me the auto bids. Don't give me like James Madison at an at-large. Who's like in that last four in range where you're just going to be shocked if you're not going to see them today?
I would definitely have leaned kind of with a SoCon team, but after the results this weekend, I guess I'll go with Mercer, just because I think with Chattanooga and VMI losing, Mercer's still keeping it close against ETSU. I think that's maybe that team that I think like the SoCon's deserving of two, and VMI kind of shot themselves in the foot. So I'll say Mercer's probably one of my last couple in.
Mercer coming in. Jamie, what's a team for you? At this point, for me, it's FAMU. I really think FAMU is going to be in the field based off of all the chaos yesterday. We basically needed a bunch of junk to happen to have the Rattlers have a chance. And do you think that happened, Jamie, or do you still have them outside looking in? You're the most you're more hesitant on maybe the Rattlers getting in. What do you think?
Well, I think there's probably 22 teams that pretty solidly are in the field, which means there's probably 5 teams fighting for 2 spots. I think Florida A&M has a shot to be that last team in, but they might be the first team out. The one that I would be shocked not to see in after all the results would be Stephen F. Austin, honestly. They handle their business. I think they have solidified themselves with the win yesterday over a bad Lamar team. They did it definitively. So Austin 316 says, I just made the playoffs.
So holy moly, SFA, these are teams that we in our mock draft special didn't even have. Like, we had them obviously in like the last 7 or 8, but we didn't actually put them in the field. So, oh man, I don't know, man. This could be interesting. Stephen F. Austin at the end. Kylor, who's your team where you're going to be, you have confident they're actually in now after all this bubble chaos?
I think SFA's in. I think after the chaotic weekend we just had, where we were trying to tell people, sorry, Rev, it just doesn't look like there's going to be a big opportunity to get SFA in there unless you have so much chaos. Chaos happened. Like, it's happened all season. It has continued to happen, and it happened on the very last week. So when you're looking at SFA's resume, they probably deserve to be in over some of those SoCon teams, over some of the other CAA teams. And yeah, I'm thinking the AQ7 goes from a 1 bid lead, or actually in the preseason, a 4 bid potential lead, down to a easily 1 bid lead. Now back up to a 2. It was a crazy last weekend. So
the
yeah.
AQ7 doesn't mean all 7 get an automatic qualifier.
Yes,
It
that is
does.
correct.
That
For
is-
anybody
they're
listening,
all 7.
I thought that was the purpose of that conference, was all 7 automatically qualified.
yep, we're going to expand it up to nearly 30 teams. Guys, before we keep things going, let's give some shout outs to the fans that are joining us. We're up near over 100 views across all platforms right now for live people checking in. Brandon Anderson, look at this guy. Going to be watching at church while I wait for the next service. My man, coming through.
Jesus, football, and alcohol. That's the 3 pillars to a Sunday.
100%. The big man upstairs is going to understand, Brandon. It's okay. Patrick, oh my goodness. He says, bums, I'm waking up early, so it better be entertaining. Patrick, what time do you wake up? I think you're West Coast, but man, that's 9:22. 9:22, man.
He's
Sunday,
a high school kid, man. Like, you know,
that's true.
They sleep in. He's still growing.
That's true.
Hey,
Brandon,
can I ask?
Oh, go
I was
ahead,
going to
man.
say, can I ask you guys a question?
Yes,
No.
I love it.
Okay. Are you guys going to be shocked when Eastern Washington is in the first round traveling to South Dakota State?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Here's why.
I have a bad feeling that it's going to happen.
Here's why it would be shocking for Eastern to not be a seed. Because if you look at their quality wins, yes, they have 2 FCS losses, but they're going to have an FBS win. They're going to have a win over Montana, who's a playoff team. Could be a seed. They're at least a fringe there. And then UC Davis, who we think's getting in the field. There's another victory there. Yes, 2 FCS losses, but you stack them up against some of those other teams that will be in that 6, 7, 8 range. I don't know. I think I'd be very surprised to see Eastern not hit that seed. Them going to South Dakota State, heck, I might drive down for that one. That would be amazing, but we'll have to see. Also, guys, quick Jesse Basher in here, Tom
Hey,
Lakey,
Jesse.
There
Tristan
you go,
Gusted.
Jesse.
Holy moly, we got everybody. Nick P, Jason Grooms, Todd Palmer, Jason Plotkin. Thanks, guys, everybody, for joining in. Throw in the comments your questions, especially, guys, after the bracket's revealed. We're not going to sit there and just watch like the last 25 minutes where they interview coaches and show teams clapping. That's where your questions will really get put to the test. So if you want to throw questions at us about that 12-10 Central time frame when the entire field is there, we will use your questions for our last 35 minutes. So feel free to keep commenting.
I've got a quick question, if we can roll through this. Where do we think, and Matt, tell me if we've got this on the record, Montana State possibly yesterday had a shot to secure a 1 seed. After that loss, where do you think they fell to? Are they still a top 4? Probably not.
I would not be shocked to see them. So I would not be shocked to see them still be number 4. I think it's like a really gut reaction to keep them right, to have everyone like drop them out or be like, oh no. But if you look at the really big picture, actually just look at it on paper, read it. It's hard to justify them not to still be in that 4-5 range.
Yeah.
50th strength of schedule according to Massey. They're going to have a quality win over Eastern Washington, who's in seed range. They're going to have only an FBS loss, an FCS loss to Montana. So then you're like, okay, well, they lost yesterday. They have 2 losses. FBS doesn't hurt them. And then look at Sacramento State. They've got an FCS loss. Look at Eastern Washington. They have 2 FCS losses. Look at the Grizz. They lost to Southern Utah. They have 2 FCS losses. So I don't think it's as simple to just completely discount Montana State like they're going to be out of this picture because of that 1 loss. Like, their strength of schedule doesn't help at 50th. Their biggest issue is what Kylor has alluded to, is that you have 4 Big Sky teams all up in that 9 win range. That's where you're that's where you run into some trouble. So
and they all could get seeded, but
probably 3.
I think East Tennessee State deserves a seed. So which Big Sky team do you leave out, and why is it Montana?
I was going to say Montana because I think it comes down to Eastern versus Montana.
Tom,
and in that head-to-head, I know it doesn't really matter. I think you've got to go with Eastern over Montana. Even though Montana's win was big yesterday, it's kind of their first big win of the season. And it was at home in a rivalry game, which is awesome. But, yeah, I'm with Matt. I think Montana State probably still 4 or 5. And I think, obviously, Sac and Eastern get it, and the Grizz are probably going to South Dakota State on the road.
So that's what I want to that's what I want to throw. Oh, go ahead, Kyler. But I wanted to ask you, Kyler, about ETSU.
Yeah.
Like, how many Big Sky seeds says Tom Lakey? 3. Everyone keeps thinking it could be 4. If I had to give you guys a shocker today, I will be shocked if ETSU is not ranked. I get their strength of schedules in the 70s, but an FBS win, it's just historically, we almost always see it. like the odds of it all being Power 3, regardless of how the Big Sky looks this year, I really will be shocked to not see ETSU being that 6, 7, 8 range. Kylor, do you think it's 3 seeds for the Big Sky? Do you think it's 4?
I think 4 are deserving, but I think we're going to get 3 seeds. And the reason why is because ETSU is also deserving of a seed, right? That's the big difference. Normally, there's probably not 8 teams that are deserving of a seed. This year, we have 10. And it is unfortunate because this is the best year the top of the Big Sky has ever looked. Normally, a 9-2 is a guaranteed lock for a seed. It's not this year. So that's kind of the difference. I do think 3 is probably the magic number. One of the Big Sky teams is going to be left out, and it's going to be probably it could be actually between all 4 of them, right? Because if you're also looking at the losses,
teams are seeded.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you look at the losses, everyone has 2 losses now. Eastern Washington and Montana, they both have 2 FCS losses, but at the end of the day, Eastern has 2 losses by a total of 4 points. Montana State's been blown out. Sac State's been blown out. Montana's never been blown out. Now, Montana's also struggled versus some of the worst teams in the Big Sky. So it's super interesting to see what's going to happen. But I think 3 teams from the Big Sky is going to be seeded. And then I think probably Eastern Washington or Montana State or Sac State is going to be left out of that 8 seed. There's arguments for each 4 of them, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's been really insane. Shout out to Mark Harper here at the in-laws for early Thanksgiving and watching this instead of playing board games that I'm not interested in. Thanks for the awesome distraction, guys. Mark Harper, my man. Cheers to you, buddy. Some other great comments here, guys, coming in as we probably have 12 some other minutes. Jason Grooms had said out there that he does not believe FAMU's in, and it's just wrong if they are. Luke Durheim here, bias. Both Montana teams are incredible teams. Speak on that a little bit, Jamie. What do you think? Both Montana teams are amazing, and they've done great. But are they just a product of circumstance because of the rest of the FCS?
No, they're both very good, but when you have to, there's 8 seeds, not 9. So somebody has to get left out most likely because I just don't see East Tennessee State getting left out. I mean, I could make an argument for 2 of the teams, Eastern Washington and Montana. So if it comes down to those, Eastern Washington won that game head-to-head. Cam Humphrey was there, so it's not like it was the backup. So I would say Eastern would get a seed over Montana. Could I be wrong? Sure. But I think Montana would be the Big Sky team left out of the seats, and we're going to find out here real soon once Elon dribbles this out, or Temple.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of the people that are – I agree with you, like the ETSU thing. It's like I feel like when you look at the FBS level, like this is the same argument with Cincinnati. Although Cincinnati played Notre Dame, they played Indiana, so they kind of challenged themselves. But it's like at the end of the day, they've played their conference and they've won it, and you got to kind of reward them for it. And whether we think the SoCon is as good as the Big Sky, no, but like they took care of their business. They kind of deserve to be rewarded for it. If Montana State, and the Eastern really were this worried about it, just win all their games and then it's not an issue. Like if you're Montana State, I feel like you're probably the most stressful today because you're getting a seed. But like you said, like it was you going to possibly be the 1 seed to possibly, I've seen some people have them as low as 8. So it's like they just did the whole fluctuation of the bracket seeding in 24 hours. I think you'll have 3 Big Sky teams in. And unfortunately, I think Montana just doesn't quite make that seeded cut. But hey, last year, none of us thought JSU would get the 4 seed, and they did. So yeah, we are noted for not knowing anything.
There's always shockers as guys. If you're watching on our screen, we have Temple and Elon coming to an end. Good job, Temple. Good win. So here we go, guys. We are about to kick into the selection show. Obviously, we won't have sound on here, but here we go. Here's the thing. Kylor, Chris, and Jamie, I have a request for you 3. I have the comments pulled up from our beautiful fans right now, and they're all commenting like crazy. Odds are we're going to see results on those comments way before we see it on here because we are a little delayed, probably by 20 seconds. So no peeking, you 3. No peeking for you 3. I want natural reactions as we see things, okay?
All right. I just hid my comment section.
So you're saying Chase Kitty's not going to in 20 seconds before go, oh, you guys are going to be shocked with this one.
Yep,
that's it.
100%. So James
See-
James Sheasley here. He's excited to see the bracket. Us too, James. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in, my man.
God, that's a big bracket. Love it.
That's what the FCS bracket will look like in 4 years when they expand. So
Yeah, it's got FBS fans jealous as all get out right now.
thank you to all 181 people joining us right now. The numbers keep going up as this is way better, right? Like ESPN, I'm sure these guys are good folks, but you're going to hear all the actual breakdowns from us, which is great. And you guys actually get to interact. So it's more fun. Welcome again to the FCS Fans Nation Selection Show special.
So somebody wants Florida.
Oh, Famu's got to be.
Let's go.
Jay Walker.
Jay Walker's all
Let's
in.
go, Jay.
My dude.
Jay is all in on Famu.
He looks good.
I think they're even laughing about it.
Dang, look at that suit. Yep, that is
Let's
impressive.
Go. All right. I'm
Okay,
in now.
guys.
They better make it now. Jay
Final
bringing that energy.
final prediction on a really big question here, guys, as we probably got a few minutes, is James Madison, NDSU. Lots of debate online. I'm definitely involved in it as well. Who's the 2? Who's the 3? If you had to give a gut punch reaction right now, or if you think Sam Houston's being the 2, doesn't really matter. Who's going to be higher, NDSU or James Madison? Jamie, what do you think?
Probably NDSU.
Chris, what do you got?
Probably NDSU. And
Kylor?
it's tough.
Oh, it's very tough. And Jamie, like Jamie said, there is an argument to be made the other side. What do you think, Kylor?
Bison. I just don't agree with the argument to be banned on the other side.
I don't
Gotcha,
care what you
gotcha.
think.
Jamie's like, I don't care.
No,
Yeah, I get
I
the-
made the argument. It's not a super strong, but I made the argument because there's one to be made. But-
As Adam Willie says, Jay Walker wearing FAMU colors. Yep. And here's the interesting thing, guys. What they're showing now, they're explaining the playoffs. They always do. I listened to this from a committee member yesterday. I think it was the athletic director or the travel director or something from Montana, one of the guys. And he's in Montana State. And he said that it's a regionalized tournament and that doesn't get promoted enough. This is a regionalized tournament is what they say. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
No
Sam
surprise.
Houston, just like we projected, being the 1
No
seed.
surprise. That's the right answer right there.
All the teams that needed to lose for Sam Houston get the number 1 seed. They all lost a game this season. It was kind of a no-brainer. You could argue
Congratulations to the Bearcats,
schedule,
Walk On Radio, and the guys.
Yeah, they get first chance to defend their championship. Oh, there we go.
There's
It
your
looks
2.
like Bison at 2.
Right
Wow,
now,
Unless it was Youngstown.
Okay. Yeah.
They're
We're
really
talking so
running
far.
through this.
yeah,
I feel
they are,
like they usually do.
they are going according to plan right now. I would anticipate James Madison the 3 coming up. We will
Yeah,
see.
I would be
Yeah,
I
shocked
would
if it's
be
not
too.
James Madison.
Midwest bias will continue to prevail.
Here we
There
go.
they are.
It's Delaware.
It's
Delaware
Delaware.
makes the
See you in Frisco. See you in Fargo.
Yeah,
so far
Jamie.
3-0.
I'd say that's the crappy part about it was whoever got the 3 has to go on the road at least once.
Unless NDSU gets
pending
upset,
upsets. Yeah.
there's no guarantee for these things.
Well,
And
this
Jamie, you've
always
got a
goes
place
as
to sleep,
chalk.
my man. You've got free lodging. Here we go.
Sac State.
Wow. Hey, hey
Yikes.
boys.
Going to state it 4.
Wow,
Okay.
here we go.
Big Sky Champions. The Big Sky Championship mattered here. So
Yeah.
winning that outright is what mattered.
Yep.
Mm.
And I'm not a big Sac State believer, but I agree with what Jamie said. The conference championship still has to mean something. They won it outright. Like same argument I made with ETSU. They played who was in front of them.
Oh, they gave us the top half.
Oh,
go.
they left the tough part. But Chris, keep going on about that Sacramento State because that really was where this kind of got curious, right? What do you think?
I mean, at the end of the day, they went 8-0 in conference. Montana State went 7-1, including a loss at the end of the season. This was the correct choice. Do I think that Sac State is the best team in the Big Sky? No. But you know what? They played all 8 teams that were put in front of them in the Big Sky, and they won them. So, like I said, handle your business, and it's never as much controversy on where you get seated as in like what Montana State might find out here in a second.
And I
So
do
who,
like
who has
the Brian
Go ahead,
McLaughlin.
Kylor.
Just he keeps reiterating to the UNI win and how maybe Sac State's not that good. That UNI
Week
loss
3.
is what really changed Sac State's whole offensive approach. They were having O'Hara as a throwing quarterback through 53 times. After that game, this is the brilliance of Troy Taylor. He said, O'Hara, you're not a good quarterback throwing the ball. We're doing a 2 QB system. You are only a running quarterback. And then Dunaway has been throwing the ball and he's been lights out. So it's
Best hair in the
it's
playoffs.
a weird thing, but it was a good decision to make. So yeah, I don't think Sac State is a top 4 team in the nation, but it is what it is.
So who has an argument now that now that we've seen the top four, who's pissed off for not seeing their name yet?
No one.
I think
Villanova, maybe.
Well, there's
Here's
your
Villanova.
5
There
seed
we
right
go.
there.
there they are, the
Because
number
they
5.
are co-champions
Now
and
you'll
beat
get
James Madison, right?
two Montana teams and ETSU, and Eastern is left going to South Dakota State.
So Villanova with the 5, they will go to the 4. So Sac State, you're going to have a Villanova Sac State thing.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't set that up. So slide those one seed or another.
Dixie State. So, Montana.
Ooh, Montana to the 6.
Wow.
I think that's a tell.
Montana to James Madison.
Going to be pissed.
Eastern's playing in the first round, and we're going to South Dakota State. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
The Dukes are now looking at having to go to Fargo, and they're going to host Montana.
There it is.
There we go.
State at the 7. Yep. So here it is. I think Montana State
at 8.
Yeah.
If not, the Bobcats are going to be.
If Montana State fell all the way out for getting smoked by the Grizz, wow, they're going to be upset, and the Grizz fans are going to clown them for the next year.
Just a bad 24 hours.
I told Kelsey Hatch to be prepared.
I don't know. Here we go.
And it has to
be.
The
The Bobcats. Holy
Montana State.
Kylor, you called it. And what is the defining factor here? Do you think it's JSU bailing on you in your schedule or what?
No, I think it's actually the committee's trash. But yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately that hurts. Jacksonville State canceled a game. So we had a last-minute replacement of Central Washington, and it's stupid because this is why Jacksonville State deserves zero love from anyone. And good, go to the FBS, go struggle, be the next Idaho, because you ruined Eastern Washington out of a seed.
Kylor Neal, not afraid to hold anything back, taking double shots at 2 teams there, one of which wasn't even involved in the question.
No, but
I think he did hold back.
I held back. No, I mean, this morning I was thinking about it all the way, and I'm like, people are overvaluing really the Montana win, the last minute win. And I'm not saying that's a bad win. Montana, they beat the crap out of Montana State. That is a very amazing win. But that is going to hold more weight because of how bad they crushed him than maybe the head-to-head schedule or something like that, which I don't agree with, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's it's pretty intense. Jamie, I want to get your thoughts, my man, because I think James Madison fans will naturally think, as we're heading off to the Sun Belt, we are getting the shaft. You now will host a very good Montana team in the quarters if there's no upsets. You also will travel to far if NDSU doesn't lose. How do you feel right now as a Dukes fan? What do you think?
I mean, you got to play the teams in front of you. When you get down to the quarterfinals, it's all good teams left. So you can't pick and choose. I mean, who else is going to be the 6? East Tennessee State wasn't going to make it up to the 6 most likely. We weren't going to be the 2. We're slotted properly. I know there's going to be a lot of people screaming that we should have been 2, including Kurt Signetti. Should have kept that internal with the team, but we can talk about that another time. That's going to be if Jamie makes it to Frisco, they earned it there. So we played a lot of teams with winning records. We've played tough playoff games at home before. We've been expected to lose those playoff games before. Everybody picked Weber State, South Dakota State. We ran through them. So, this ain't Colgate.
So I'm just kind of curious from your guys' perspective. I know we don't have it up. That right side of the bracket right now, before we see all the regional stuff, looks like the much tougher side of the bracket. I mean, if you're Montana State, you're kind of like, okay, like, yes, it is Sam Houston. But I think we all say we still have a reservation saying Sam Houston's a true number 1. So you get them possibly. And then Sac State, who we just said we're not really convinced is possibly the true number 1. Where you look at that right side of the bracket, it's NDSU, Montana, ETSU, James Madison. Like, that's arguably 4 of the best teams in the entire country, all on one side of the bracket.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how those first-round matchups line up round 2. And what's really interesting now is where do some of these big heavy hitters go? Like Kennesaw is not a fun team to play if they're going to come into you in round 2. Eastern Washington, South Dakota State. Some of these other teams, they're not
Missouri
fun
State
to play
this year.
So like right now, if you look at it, I would say that NDSU fans, if you want to look at the top 4, are probably pretty happy. I would say Sam Houston fans are pretty happy right now. If you want to look at the top 4 perspective, Sac State obviously pumped, they got the 4. But what is going to be that round 1 matchup? Like it behind Fargo and NDSU now, is it going to be Eastern versus South Dakota State? Or are they going to go out to Montana's? how does the geography play? That's what we're about to see, guys. Remember, this is a regionalized tournament, and geography is going to play a factor in terms of what these next games come up as. We'll probably just find out the teams, but we'll have to see. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking UNI is going to go to UC Davis and play the playing game to Sac State. Eastern Washington probably going to get South Dakota State, and either it's going to be going to Montana or going to North Dakota State. Like that's kind of what I was envisioning this morning already. They probably are going to get the toughest road, to be honest. But yeah, that's kind of what I was envisioning. So I think Eastern Washington, South Dakota State, or maybe even South Dakota, Eastern Washington is a matchup that they're going to make. But I think, yeah, we're playing one of the Dakotas, and it's either going to feed into North Dakota State or feed into Montana.
Yeah, at some point, that's what we're about to see is like what comes from that right here. So, Chris, what do you think about that top seed, Sam Houston? Obviously, you have. What do you think about their path currently? In the semis, they would see Sac State. In the quarterfinals, unless I have this mistaken, who are they going to see in the quarters at the 1?
It would be Montana State.
Montana State. Yeah. Do you think those are teams down in Bowers they have to worry a lot about, or what do you think? I mean,
obviously they're seeded, so yes, but man, am I setting up for egg on my face? I think we had these same reservations about Sam Houston last year, and kind of like saw their path and like, no way, they got to go through James Madison, North Dakota State, and they had to play South Dakota State in Frisco, and we're like, they answered all those questions, so I'm hesitant to doubt them on what seems to be an easier path, being Sac State, Montana State, than what they had to go through in the spring. But once again, they just played a full season not too long ago, so we'll see.
Here we go. We might get some more information here.
Matchup.
Eastern Washington at South Dakota.
Chris, I want to bounce off your point there and go and emphasize Kylor's genius, which matchups matter. And I saw a team in Montana that really could pass the ball well against Montana State as long as they could stop Montana State's run. I think Sam Houston's front 7 can stop Montana State from running, and I think they can get open lanes in the passing game to beat the Bobcats. I think Sam Houston has a really good path right now. Sac State, good team, but I think Sam Houston and Bowers is going to be tough to take down. I think it's going to be tough for me not to pick them to at least get to Frisco based off of who's over on that side.
Weird
because of matchups.
The 1 seed does appear to have the easiest path to Frisco,
and that's good. I'm glad it actually. I'm glad it played out that way. It's better.
They didn't get screwed by the committee. Like, we'll give you the 1, but you're going to have a real tough. They definitely feel like they have the easiest path as of now. We'll see these regionalizations that are coming up. They might get
Stephen F. Austin is in. The Rev is in.
The chaos that needed to happen.
We know this is Incarnate Word. Coming up is the place that they're going to play.
Just because of the geography. Jamie, the bracket man.
Dude, I'm in. Steve, let's get a Piney Woods in the playoff. We won't get Brawl of the Wild unless it's in Frisco.
Or Incarnate Word to UC Davis. Okay. I was going to say, because CLaw still has a chance. Those Louisiana, Texas schools by Stephen F. Austin's actually probably closer.
I think SLU, Kennesaw, winner goes to James Madison.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So what
are we thinking here? Is this going to be
UC Davis?
This is probably going to be.
This could be
the UC Davis will be with Sacramento State if they're getting the home game. This is going to be one of the
Will you see South Dakota, one of the South Dakotas here or over where Fargo is, right? That's the question.
A little SDU.
Probably a South Dakota.
One here and the other in Fargo.
Yeah.
Yep. So here we go. Are they taking bus trips?
They sure went fast through the seeds. Ooh,
okay, UT Martin.
So against what? Maybe my Mercer? Or no, probably.
Probably Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
They're 100 and some miles away. I think that's an obvious matchup there.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri State. Okay.
Kylor, can Eastern Washington be where Sac State is based off of the season and stuff?
I think UC Davis will probably get that. I think we're going to NDSU or Montana. I really do think that.
Interesting. So, right, guys, UT Martin, who lost their first game against SEMO yesterday. Otherwise, they were 10-1, likely still not seeded, but at least could have made an argument. Argument evaporated yesterday. Missouri State, who's had a heck of a year. Good for them. I question Missouri State's ability to beat Montana State because their interior offensive line is really weak. They got a scrambling QB, which helps them, but I think that's going to be hard pressed for someone to go into Bozeman with the 8. So I don't know if I'm going to see an upset at this point with the 1 and 8 seed. Do you see it out anybody?
Maybe Bobby, but
all right, Sacred Heart, Holy Cross here for Villanova, most likely
for sure.
And this is where people talk about that geography where they talk about the CAA get in the Sacred Hearts, and you'll get some of those teams. You know.
Yeah,
I know the
well,
whole thing is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But like, we need to seed the field.
But it is a little
Yep.
broke.
Yeah, well, I think I missed one. Davidson is closer to JMU, so I'm guessing Davidson Kennesaw is going to be the matchup.
Yeah, because they won the Pioneer.
Yeah, SLU might get Southern Illinois.
Now,
Yeah,
this one's
that's-
interesting because
this
this
one is-
could be Eastern, but like I think Kylor said, it's probably UC Davis.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we're
this
going to
could be
Montana
UC
or
Davis
or
squad.
Fargo.
This is going to be like South Dakota UC Davis.
This one's going to be so far
like
out
that.
there.
So do we know, are they being seeded in who won their bids? Like,
I
so is
think-
Stephen F. Austin going to Incarnate Word?
I believe that's how
Or I
it
guess
is.
it'd be the other way. FF Austin 2.
I think it's Holy Cross would beat Sacred Heart. UT
Okay.
Martin would beat Missouri State.
I can't imagine UC Davis doesn't outbid folks. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know. Just because they have money doesn't mean they outbid.
They bid
Delaware
it.
was
That's true.
outbid by a couple teams, and they have just as much money as UC Davis.
Don't forget Nichols didn't even have a
South Dakota.
Ooh.
So we're
Ooh.
getting South Dakota.
wow,
Yep.
NDSU
Yep.
fans. I know it sounds like, oh, here's Matt, but
They rejoice.
they've got to be just
So we're getting the Dakota.
South
Marker
Dakota
in
State is
Frisco, too.
extremely happy with their side of the bracket right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are extremely. That's better than a seed. They're going to beat UC Davis. They're going to beat Sac State.
really. You think they can go on the road
yeah.
that much? I don't know
Well,
about that.
I'm more hesitant on that. I'm not saying they can't, but I don't think it's as easy as the tone just implied from Kylor. I think they still have a tough battle. Like they're definitely not going to be able to cakewalk through their side of the
I think
bracket.
they're caking. I think they're cake walking.
Yeah, that other side of the bracket is going to be stacked.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. Yeah, Brian Thompson has been
Hey, cool though.
say this kind of that stuff. Hey, Brian, have
We
some
get-
tacos.
We get South Dakota. I'm not mad about that.
Whack champs.
There's Mr. Casey Kylor, national championship coach. Credit to him. If you guys may all know these stories for Facebook users and everyone who's tuned in, 300 plus viewers right now. Thanks for everyone for tuning in right now. When it comes to Casey Kylor, he actually revamped that whole program. He said, I want to be built like the James Madison NDSUs. They emphasized their strength coach. They made some different hires. They went straight into developmental and winning on the offense and defensive lines. Like they revamped it. And Casey Kylor did that. He switched his whole style, and now Sam Houston really plays like what a championship caliber team does. This is not soft Houston.
Their
I
front
want to
seven is-
combat that because back at Delaware, he did not have the same style. I don't think he switched his own styles. He was just trying to finally put his own team together at Sam Houston.
That's
He
fair.
switched the former style.
That's
Yep.
fair.
He played to the strengths of his players, and he knew that he needed
Yeah.
a different type of player to wind up where he did in the spring.
You got to recruit your guys because at Delaware, he was a power. He was, I mean, it was a similar system to what he's running now. Just Texas is probably a little bit better to recruit out of than Delaware, right? So he's actually getting the players he needs. But Delaware was stacked when Kylor was there. They
This
still lost
is,
to Eastern. But
Do you guys feel like things are going according to plan right now, or do you think is there some sort of gut punch for you anywhere, or does it kind of just feel like things are going where all the projections were with a few changes?
No, the last couple in are going to be on this side of the bracket, and we're
Yeah.
going to see: is it Florida A&M? Is it
Mercer,
Rhode
is it-
Island? Is it Mercer? One of those teams is probably in. The other two are out.
Thank
Yeah,
you
I
so
think
much.
this side of the bracket, that side of the bracket, the left side, had zero like shocks, right? Like we all talked about teams we thought. I guess maybe Stephen F. Austin, which, hey, that was my sneaky pick at the beginning of the year. Glad to see it paid off. I got a little nervous there middle of the season, but yeah, I think this right side is where you're going to see that like shock team where we're like, okay, if they got in, then this team did not.
You know what? If it's set up, SLU could get FAMU.
Here you
Yeah.
go, Chris.
let's just
The
send him
Rev,
to Eastern.
this is
Let's
for
just
you. I
send him
gotta-
to Eastern.
Here you go, Chris. There you go, Dustin Helton. I'm late for the pick for SFA. Only Chris believed in us. Congrats to the Rev and SFA for getting into the field. Thank you to everybody. Some Facebook users, you're not logged in, so we can't see your names. We appreciate it. Everyone just saying that this show is awesome. The show is great. Patrick, a few others. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope like the information as it comes in is actually useful, and you're getting data points and things that actually matter. People who know stuff about the FCS. So
That's
maybe not
cool, those
everything.
Overseas guys. That's
And
awesome.
we're way less good looking than Jay Walker.
Right.
Can
Not
we get
true.
Casey Kylor off the screen, please?
We got
Ris-
Jamie Williams. That's a good looking dude.
That's
Rasul,
right.
I meant the
Rasul
other three
RH.
of us.
Rasul RH here. What about Jackson State? Jackson State, we think, will win the SWAC championship. and then they will win the Celebration Bowl. They actually, with having heard this yesterday from a committee member as well, when you have a conference championship game in the FCS, that's what causes you to forego a playoff automatic qualifier.
Yeah, because
So with
even
the
the
SWAT-
loser can't go, right? Because they played in it.
Correct.
They
So
play it next week.
Yep, conference. So with Jackson State, we think they would make some good noise in the playoffs. We think they would be a solid team.
Ooh,
And oh, look at this!
Corso!
Oh, there.
Oh, here's Corso. That's got to mean they're in, right?
Come
They
on,
wouldn't.
They have
there's
to.
no way they're going to
What
do
a
that.
horrible
if not,
mascot, though.
this
But I
is
like it.
Hey, ESPN did just screw Missoula. Maybe this is them just really sticking it to the FCS. They're getting all the Florida A&M people all kinds of excited to just be like, nah.
I don't know. That suit is sharp, guys. Come
Dude,
on, that suit is
I
sharp.
hope Florida A&M gets in. I think
Can we
it'd be
get
so
Jay
fun.
on this next year?
Yeah, say Jay, we're gonna pay you $12, way more than you'll make in
I'll kick
ESPN
it
Selection
50
Show.
cents.
50 cents. I'll spot the other 12. We'll do $12.50
$12.50 and some beers in Frisco.
and beers.
Here we go.
All right.
They're in.
Florida
that
A&M,
first
yeah.
one?
See?
It's
Yeah,
in.
Famu.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
They could be coming to us.
Woo!
Wow, who are they going to get? Kennesaw, Davidson.
All
Southeastern
right,
Louisiana.
Jamie, I might want to come to that game if they can
Yeah,
get to the first
Southeastern
round.
Louisiana. I think, Kylor, I like that thought there, just based off of things.
You want to send us Cole Kelly?
Yep.
Man, this is crazy.
And then,
So-
yeah, Eastern's going to North
Mercer?
Dakota State or I like how they say North Dakota. You bums. North Dakota State's not even in the field.
Wow.
This could be. This is from Jason
Congratulations,
Grooms.
Famu.
Could
Yeah,
be
right.
Kennesaw. Could be Kennesaw.
Yeah, I think Kennesaw
Could
or
be
Mercer
Kennesaw.
because you get the Georgia thing.
Kennesaw's more likely.
Right up
Although
Interstate
I would
75
love
there.
to see Southeastern
There it is.
Louisiana. I was gonna say that would be a matchup I'd love to see. There it
They are
is.
So
not giving us
called that
any
one.
favors there. It's going to be a tough road.
Yeah, Sela and Famu. That's JMU.
And
Maybe
Eastern's
Jamie.
coming
Maybe
to
they wanted
Missoula.
to send you a message when you guys are going to that Sun Belt. Holy moly!
Yeah, seriously.
Eastern, UNI, or
We're not giving you
Eastern,
the
South
2,
Dakota.
and we're gonna burn you at the 3 spot. Jeez,
Yeah.
Louise.
We're going
Wow.
to Missoula
Yeah, this should be Eastern South Dakota.
or Eastern UNI.
Who wins that
one of them.
bid? South Dakota, probably.
If this is
Probably
not,
both.
if Easter doesn't pop up here, they're not getting the home game.
Oh,
So
Northern Iowa
you
would
guys-
definitely
Wow,
outbid.
UNI gets in the field. Unreal.
probably
Well,
against Eastern.
Before I said Missouri Valley gets 6 teams in.
Dude, Kylor, I bet you're going to play Eastern here.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh,
there it
my
is.
So we're going to
goodness.
UNI and then we go to Montana.
You should beat Northern Iowa, but they are tricky.
Northern
A
Iowa's
Sac
tough,
State
man.
learn. Yeah, it's not a team Eastern probably wants to see, right? But they
So
should.
this is going to be
the
here's going to be
favorite.
Kennesaw and Davidson coming up for ETSU. That's almost an obvious. And then Southern Illinois and whoever the last team is that
Come on, Mercer.
I can't think of.
My two dogs, Stephen F. Austin and Mercer. I want them both, baby.
Wow, what? Oh, wow, UNI very likely to get to host Eastern Washington.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
that's
just
a host.
insane.
Northern Iowa will host over Eastern.
I don't think Eastern can discretionally be throwing too much money around right now.
I'm pretty sure we always bid close to the minimum and then just hope for a seed.
Yeah,
I think that's our MO. So
some professor would probably go on Twitter and blast the university if they won.
yeah,
Kennesaw.
that prick. Well,
So
that's
this
Alright.
makes me feel like South Dakota is going to come right back to NDSU if they win.
Did
Yeah.
South Dakota and Southern Illinois play each other in the regular season?
Because
if they
did,
then one of them is out.
They did. Yep. Let me look that up quick. SIU
Holy
football.
smokes! Would this be Southern Illinois then? Who would get the not like Illinois?
South
Southern
Dakota
Illinois?
would get it over Southern
You
Illinois.
think so?
SIU did not play USD this year. They
Oh, so
were-
they're
This
playing-
has to be
Okay,
the
that's going to
matchup.
be
Yeah,
Then that's gonna be
Oh,
the matchup.
Mercer, sad
so no
Bears.
Mercer, no
Sad
third
Bears.
CAA team.
Yeah, no roadie.
So so Southern Illinois is gonna play USD.
This is going to be South
Yep.
Dakota. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Missouri Valley repeat there at the bottom. So
Yep.
there we go, boys.
Yeah, they needed to fix that. I didn't know the Fighting
Yep.
Hawks made it as the 2 seed.
All I know is I got every single team right in the bracket.
Yeah, we got them right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I texted it beforehand.
After last night, I think we pretty much knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Florida A&M was what I missed last week, and I had Mercer. I think otherwise everybody I picked is in.
Yeah,
I
as
didn't
of
do
this
one last
morning,
night.
I
I was
have
driving.
every single team. So I'll take it.
So we have the finale, boys. We have everybody
go.
in. So who is a team right now that we are not seeing in that everybody is kind of shocked about? Who are we missing here? It's got to be the SoCon, right? Did the SoCon
Look at
go with
Bobby
them?
P.
SoCon
yeah.
got
I mean,
one
I'm not
bid?
honestly surprised about anybody that got left out, to be real honest. I mean, we kind of knew what 22 of the teams were going to be. And then Florida A&M, Mercer, Rhode Island, and who the other team that got in? Stephen F. Austin were the teams we had to think about. And I figured Stephen F. Austin was in, so it was going to come down to Florida A&M or Rhode Island. And 9 wins against the FCS versus 7 wins and 4 blowouts. I think that's what it came down to, because Mercer was only 6-2 against the FCS, so I kind of discounted them.
Yeah, their D2 game kind of burned them. I mean, it worked for Sam Houston, only playing 10 games, but yeah, at the end of the day, Mercer's scheduling killed it. And I think we talked about like the SoCon like a couple weeks ago. We were saying like, oh, there is a possibility they could get 4 teams in this year. Unlikely, but they have 4 prospects. And then down the stretch, they just shot themselves in the foot.
They beat each other up the last 2 weeks. It is what it is. That's what happens.
But definitely conference improving. But as the committee showed, just doesn't have that respect enough to where the Missouri Valley can get a handful of freaking teams in the SoCon one, but seeded. So if you're a SoCon fan, like we said, one of the biggest screw jobs of this thing could have been ETSU not getting seeded, and they did. So you got to celebrate your win there. Your champion got seeded and was viewed as a top 8 team. So I know it probably bums out SoCon fans, but I think they would have to take a hefty look inward and admit that they probably only deserve to have ETSU make it this year.
Yep.
So this would be the time, guys, if you're still with us, which over 200 of you are. Thank you so much. Now's the time where we have the bracket. Once we see it officially on the screen, we'll screenshot it so it'll be set so you can really see it. Any of your questions that pop up now, guys, we'll be able to kind of guide the next half hour of us discussing. So breaking down the bracket, breaking it down, we'll have some open discussion amongst ourselves. But right now, we would love for your guys' questions. And if you're commenting on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they're just rolling in. We would love to answer anything that you guys have in terms of the first round matchups and things like that. So it is definitely question time. But that being said, overall thoughts there, Kylor. What do you think? Do you think it's according to plan, or do you think there's some questionable things here?
I mean, the couple of things that I predicted that, some people probably thought were head scratchers was I predicted every single team in there. So there's no head scratchers for me there. It went to plan. And then I predicted Eastern Washington before the show to be on the road traveling in the first round. So I don't think there's any head scratchers. I don't think some of the things are deserving what happened, but at the same time, if I can make arguments for it, then I'm going to say it is what it is. And everything happened according to plan. You're on mute, Matt.
I mean, I don't see anything that really jumps out that says, here's where they messed up, because I really don't think they did. I know if from my team standpoint, it's going to be a tough road, but you play who's in front of you. So, I mean, they matched it up. The only thing I thought, ETSU getting Davis and Kennesaw, that is a closer second round matchup. So that's not that far out of whack. It stinks that we're going to have most likely Cole Kelly. Shoot, we might get Cole Kelly and Eric Barrier back to back if we can escape that first one. Because screw the Grizz, let's go Eagles. I've already seen Montana play at Bridgeforth. How about Eastern Washington come see us?
Bring on some new competition. Jordan Fink here says, other than a seed, is this the best case scenario for South Dakota State? Agree. What do you think there, Chris? I'll toss this one to you. Jordan Fink, is this best case scenario for the Jackrabbits?
Yeah, I would say, because I was lining up to go, man, if you're Villanova, you're probably sitting here going, heck yeah. Like, they should win their first round, whoever they get out of the second round. But South Dakota State, we know they have the capabilities to be there. I still hold my little bit of reservations, like I did when the season started without Mark Gronowski. I'm just not sure this is a Frisco team. That said, they have they have the easiest quadrant by far with Sac State and Villanova, teams that also have kind of some fatal flaws that could be exploited. That if there was an unranked team that has the best chance to go to the semifinal, I do think it is South Dakota State. I wouldn't be shocked if they're favored against UC Davis, Sac, and Nova. So at the end of the day, they probably get Sam Houston, Montana State. That's probably when they become an underdog in a matchup. But yeah, I think from a non-ranked team, they definitely have the easiest path moving forward, which is kind of what we said in that exact same compressed quadrant in the spring that we said about Delaware when they had the matchup with JSU at 4. We're like, of the unranked teams, that same little quadrant was the one where like best chance for a team to move the deepest.
Can I counter and say, looking at it now that I'm looking at it a little bit more in depth, I actually think Kennesaw State may have the best path, at least until they go to Fargo. They're going to be playing an ETSU team because I think we're all going to agree they beat Davidson, right? And they beat Davidson pretty handily. Yep. They're going to be playing an ETSU team who they are a run-first team. They have 2 of the best running backs in the nation when you're looking at a duel. But at the end of the day, it's going to be running game versus running game. And I like Kennesaw State's running game as a whole a little bit more than ETSU. If you're looking for style matchups, I think that is a more favorable style matchup for Kennesaw State than maybe even a South Dakota State, because they're going to have to travel to California back-to-back. That's going to be tough. In Sac State, they're actually a little bit more balanced than what we're all probably imagining. But I think those are the 2 best spots for an unseeded team. You got Kennesaw State and South Dakota State, but I'm going to lean towards Kennesaw State. I think that is a slightly easier road to get to maybe the quarterfinals, or I guess, to the quarterfinals.
See, my only pushback with
Davidson, Kennesaw State, over-under on passes, I'm going to set it at 12.5. You taking the over-under on those 2 teams?
Oh, my goodness.
I'll take the over because I think Davidson probably throws it like 9 times, and Kennesaw, they'll do their average of 4 to 5.
Cool. Guys, let me get to Neil's question here. Potential for James Madison to go to Fargo. Can Lightning strike twice? If so, it would be a great way to bid farewell to the FCS. Damn, I'm going to miss the playoffs. Thoughts, guys? Neil, if you find me on Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else, I've said the same thing. I think James Madison and NDSU have similar issues, and I think they have similar strengths. I think they're like carbon copies of each other this year, whether it's coaching, play calling, offensive struggles at times, ferocious defense, good front seven. I literally think they're the same team, and I just think home field advantage will be a difference maker. If this game was in Bridgeforth, I'd pick James Madison to win. But I think NDSU is going to have a pretty good shot to win that game. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. I don't think NDSU is going to win by 14 points. I really do think the difference there is going to be where you're going to travel and who you've played up to that point. So we can discuss that more down the line, but I wanted to get Neil's answer there. So besides that, unseeded team most likely make it to Frisco. Kevin Wooden here says Missouri State. I think, Chris, you kind of said South Dakota State on that one, but I think both of those are really good options. Let me see if I can find another awesome question here. We're not sure on this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but home teams are the bottom of the first round matchups. Do you guys, doesn't look like that's confirmed here? Would that be your assumption? Think they're at the top?
I don't know, because Kelsey said Eastern got the bid.
Oh, did they?
Wow, okay. So Northern Iowa would have to travel.
If I'm going to trust somebody for Eastern.
Kennesaw lost out to Davidson.
Oh, true. Okay. That makes sense.
But then that would mean that South Dakota State outbid UC Davis.
Which makes sense. We don't
Davis
know.
Not notorious for athletic funding. So though they have a lot of money, it's not like they necessarily pump it.
That's what I was telling someone, I forgot who it was, like 2 weeks ago. And they're like, well, UC Davis is going to be able to outbid anyone. I'm like, just because they have money doesn't mean that they're actually going to apply it to playoff bids. Like we just said a few years ago, Delaware went on the road in the first round, and they have just as much money as UC Davis. Like those are some of the 2 richest non-Ivy League schools in the FCS. It doesn't mean that you're just going to put tons of money into a bidding process. I'm surprised Eastern Washington outbid UNI. Okay, that one shocks me a little bit. We're going all in.
Incarnate Word over Stephen Off.
That surprises me too, because Incarnate Word.
Boys, I would love to stick with some bidding talk, but I got some breaking news here. Brandon Owens, first 3 out: Mercer, Eastern Kentucky, University of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
This is going to bounce off a question we got from another individual up here, guys. See if I can find it. I can't find it, but I'll put it up when I do. A question about what do you think about FAMU getting in? Like, does that shock you at all? The results of these 3 right here, that's kind of what changes it, right, Jamie? Is that kind of what the chaos yesterday of allowing FAMU to get in? The rest of the FCS hooked them up, right?
Yeah, literally everybody on the bubble lost yesterday, and that's exactly what Florida A&M needed to win the Florida Classic against Bethune-Cookman, a team that had 1 or 2 wins on the season, so they cruised through that. Once the Citadel, shout out Kevin Marshall if you're watching, beat Chattanooga. East Tennessee State beat Mercer. VMI lost to Western Carolina. Rhode Island lost to Elon bad. William & Mary lost to Richmond late. I mean, any of those things that changed, you might be seeing something different. But everything that Florida A&M needed to happen yesterday happened, and they're in the bracket. I know their strength of schedule is over 100, but hey, let's put them in. It's got a tough matchup, and let's see what happens.
Should be interesting. Last 2 in here, it says Southern Illinois and Northern Iowa. So the Missouri Valley getting a little bit of an edge there, as we've seen Power 3 conferences, the Valley especially, get those hookups at the end. So very interesting stuff there. One of the questions that was up here was, can UNI go and beat Eastern Washington? That was one of the questions. Based off what I saw out of UNI, their offense is much improved from it is in seasons past. So they might be able to score and kind of keep up with Eastern a bit. But can their defense slow down EB3 and the rest of the squad? And Kylor, what do you think? Does UNI scare you at all coming into that matchup?
UNI, I mean, we say this all year. They're a team who can legit beat anyone in the top 25. They're also a team who can legit lose to anyone in the top 25. So UNI, they're always a scary team. I haven't done a deep dive, or a snorkel dive or a shallow dive into really, into really like their passing defense or anything like that. So I don't know off the top of my head, but UNI is a tough team. They always are. But I like Eastern's chances right now without doing a deep dive.
Who won the Big Sky Conference?
Sacramento State.
Oh wait, and they lost to UNI. So yeah, I say UNI definitely has a shot against Eastern Washington. They beat
O'Hara is not throwing the ball anymore.
I know. I'm just saying, like, of course UNI has a shot. In fact, I would say out of first round matchups, I mean, is that the most entertaining one? I mean, actually, Southern Illinois, South Dakota will probably be good.
Yeah,
I like the Southern Illinois South Dakota matchup. I think that's gonna be fun. I think Florida A&M versus Southeastern Louisiana.
That'll be fun.
Because Florida A&M, if you guys aren't aware, they have the number 1 total defense, right? Versus the number 1 total offense.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things when everyone's saying defense wins championships. We're gonna see if Florida A&M can actually stop Southeastern Louisiana.
Yeah. Well,
that's going to be very, very fun to watch.
I've got one super important question for you three. Which one of you gets the Chris Hammond Award for first one to join me on the sidelines for the playoffs? As in, which one of your teams loses first and you get to become just a neutral observer like me every year?
Let's play the odds. Eastern Washington by far has the best odds to lose before one of them.
And
they got 2 easier matchups even in the second round than Eastern got.
Yeah, so probably you, Kylor.
Yeah, I mean, let's just bet the odds. UNI, they're tough. Montana playing.
It'll probably be Kylor when JMU beats them.
Yeah, I mean, once Eastern Washington beats JMU and then we go to Fargo and win, and then we win a national championship, being only after James Madison to win it all on the road, right? But no, I'm going to play the odds right here and go Eastern Washington for sure is losing before those two.
Do we get an admin-less Frisco, or do we think for sure one of those 3 teams is?
If Eastern Washington loses, I hope all of you guys lose. So, and I hope you all get murdered because I have no love for North Dakota State. You guys are already aware of that. James Madison, I like them better than North Dakota State, but they can still go suck a something.
Sunbelt.
Yeah.
A Frosty, a popsicle.
I think Montana has a scary shot to actually come out of that side of the bracket. But at the same time, we've seen Montana has an actual shot to also not show up. But I don't know. We'll see. I definitely feel like that right side of the bracket might have your Frisco winner on it. And I think your left side of the bracket is going to have a team that's just happy to get there. And I know that includes Sam Houston. But I right now would bet somebody else's condo on somebody from the right side of the bracket will be the one winning in Frisco.
I got to tell you, I've got a lot of confidence in Chalk. Not for 3 and 4, but 1 and 2. And that's because of their paths. Sure, NDSU could get beat in the semi by a really good team, whoever's up in that top part. I see Sam Houston having no problems come that second round. I think stylistically they're going to have no problems come the quarterfinals. And I'm not sure who makes it out. I'm not sold SDSU can just run rabbit on the road and get through those teams. And if it's Villanova or Sac State, you're going to take them over Sam Houston, who's undefeated in Bowers. And I look at NDSU's side. We saw what they did to South Dakota. SIU is struggling. If they end up getting in the semis, they're going to host. Like, to me, my gut tells me you could just see 1 and 2 in there. I don't know who would win that matchup, but that looks pretty glaring just based off of how the matchups look. Am I wrong? Am I right?
Nope.
Or am I
you're
crazy?
right. I would say Montana State, I think, because of how they just lost to Montana, is maybe getting slighted a little bit, but I think they did look really good all season. The issue is their last 2 games have not been stellar. If they can figure out how they were clicking all but the last 2 weeks of the season, I would have no issue saying that Montana State could beat Sam Houston down in Texas. And then I don't think anybody else on that side of the bracket scares them either. But I think you're right. I think Montana State has to be able to figure that out for it to matter. Sam Houston doesn't have to figure anything out right now. They just need to do what they've been doing. So, yeah, I think 1 and 2 are on a collision course. But everything always goes as chalk, as we always know.
So I said this a few weeks ago, and I think, is referring to the Big Sky teams and the potential matchups, because I do think this playoffs more than anything is a style versus matchup because it is so deep. I said, realistically, if the Big Sky wants a chance at deep runs, only Eastern Washington or Sac State is going to be stylistically able from the Big Sky to be able to beat a Sam Houston. I just think that. I don't think Montana State and Montana have a passing offense that is able to make Sam Houston struggle, and Sam Houston's offense is better. And then I said Eastern Washington, Sac State would have a horrible time versus James Madison and North Dakota State, where Montana and Montana State have a much better chance versus them. It doesn't look like that's really going to be the case. Because I don't think Sacramento State's going to get past South Dakota State. I just don't. And then maybe the Grizz can cause some issues for JMU. They have not had a blitzing defense like that. If Montana gets past, an Eastern or UNI, which UNI's never won in, I think, Wall Grizz ever. Wall Grizz just dominates UNI, and then Eastern Washington struggled at Wall Grizz. It's a tough place to play in December. So it's going to be interesting, but I think if you were looking at Big Sky teams and which ones could potentially make a run, I mean, if Eastern was in where Montana State is, I'm more confident with Eastern over a Sam Houston than I am Montana State over Sam Houston. But where Eastern Washington is, if we match up with James U, I'm not confident in that game at all, where I think Montana State actually could play James Madison better than Eastern could. It's a weird style versus matchup type of game. And unfortunately, I mean, I think all the seeds are looking fairly good besides Sac State and maybe ETSU.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. If you guys were to look across the board, you see 8 seeds. Who is most likely, if you had to pick 2 upsets, who do you think is most likely to drop in that first round or second round? We've seen it before. Who do you think could get beat right away? Do you see one that points out to you, Jamie, where you're like, oh, I could see this upset happening?
Yeah, I mean, I could see Kennesaw State beating East Tennessee State. I would pick East Tennessee State, but I could certainly see that happening. I know ETSU sees a couple of triple option offenses in the SoCon, but none of them are as good as Kennesaw State, and none of those teams have a defense as good as Kennesaw State. I do think East Tennessee State would be able to run the ball themselves because they've got the 2 really strong running backs. But if you tell me somebody's going to lose that has a seed in the second round, the most likely to me, unfortunately, is East Tennessee State. After that, it's probably Sacramento State, either revenge of the Causeway Classic or a getting healthy South Dakota State. So those would be the 2 that I would look at right off.
Yeah, I can't see Villanova getting touched between those 2. Montana State should take care of business because stylistically they'll match up well with Missouri State, who should beat UT Martin.
But
Sam
that's
Houston
the
should be
thing.
fine.
Montana State has not played well their last 2 weeks.
Idaho almost beat them.
Yeah, so
but
Montana State is trending down at the wrong time of year. So I'm just saying, I agree with you. I think Montana State probably wins that matchup, but they could very much be like the Weber State last year, who was kind of trending down, had some close games they shouldn't have had late, and a team like Missouri State, a Missouri Valley team that's well coached, I could see that going in. But for me, I know it's Montana. Eastern's already beat Montana. If Eastern gets in over Northern Iowa, I get that it would be in Missoula this time, but I would have the utmost confidence that the Eagles would be able to beat the Grizzlies. Would I be shocked if the Grizz won? Of course not. But Eastern's already beat Montana. So I would say Montana's got to be one of the ones you got to look at too, if Eastern can take care of Northern Iowa.
Yeah, I like your take there, Chris, because of like the familiarity factor. So do I think NDSU loses in round 2? No, but I would put them in that column of like more likely than
Possible.
others,
Yeah.
because you're going to play South Dakota again. And yes, NDSU killed them, but they also killed Illinois State in 2019, and then in the playoffs it was like 9-3.
Yeah.
So
And-
familiarity is scary.
And
Right?
Stephen F. Austin didn't play bad against Sam Houston this year.
Right.
I mean, I
Now,
know that was neutral site, and this time it being Bowers,
their
but
top
like,
their top QB was out. Eric was out
True.
that game.
but
So
it's
that's-
like, yeah, you look at this. There's a lot of second round matchups that would be familiar teams, other than Villanova. Like, Nova should not struggle remotely. Unfortunately, for how much we love the NEC and Patriot, I just don't see any team competing with a co-CAA champion in that spot. But yeah, everybody else has a matchup that you could legitimately make an argument, including James Madison if it's Southeastern Louisiana. But like, I would say Villanova is the only one that for sure would shock me if they lost. Everybody else, I think you could make a reasonable argument for an upset.
Bridges
that's a
on
fair
top
comment.
here, guys. Bridges on top. We followed his Facebook page or his YouTube page because he is from FAMU and he has like a bunch of the game time atmosphere and like tailgating videos. Really cool. But myself through the FCS Fans Nation account and him, we're just going back and forth on FAMU in terms of like what we said in the mock special. It was a very classy, good conversation. So good. Bridges on top. Good for you, man. Congratulations to FAMU getting in. We were hoping they would get in. We didn't see it last week based off our predictions, but our predictions were dog crap. And all those teams on the bubble lost, and it allowed FAMU to get in. So we're excited to see what the Rattlers do against Southeastern Louisiana, not CELA. So congratulations to you, my man, and thanks for being a good follower, good listener. So
Here's what's crazy. If somehow Eastern Washington makes a run and plays James Madison, in 6 of the last 7 games, Eastern Washington would play a top 20 passing efficiency defense. Like, all the style matchups are pointing in the wrong direction for Eastern. We want a strong running defense, not so much a good passing defense, but in passing efficiency defense, Weber State was up there. Montana State was up there. Montana's up there. UNI's up there. James Madison's up there. UC Davis was up there. That's like some brutal style matchups for Eastern Washington. So we'll see. But I was just starting to do my deep dive with UNI, and I was like, really good passing efficiency defense. Makes the style matchup a little bit tough. And then Montana's even better. James Madison's up there with Montana. Makes it really tough.
yeah, style matters, as you always say, Kylor. And in terms of style, seeds matter as well. We've seen in the past because of geography, seeding doesn't matter for the 1 or 2. But man, this is actually one of the rare ones where I would say the 1 and 2 got big time better hookups, I would say. It just looks like an easier path. That's not always the case. And your 3 and 4 definitely got more brutal draws. So you could argue that Villanova has a better draw in that round 2 than Sacramento State. I don't even think it's a debate at this point with Sacred Heart and Holy Cross going to Villanova.
Easily a better matchup.
Guys, we got about 10 minutes here before we kind of wrap things up. Just before we do, why don't you give each of your final thoughts on kind of the brackets, maybe some predictions, some guarantees, non-guarantees, questions, just your overall thoughts. And I'll start with you, Jamie. What do you think about this thing overall, and how do you see things kind of playing out maybe?
Well, I think, like I've said before, if James Madison is going to be playing in front of us in Frisco, they're going to have to really earn it. I don't think there's any conspiracy theories there. I know I'm going to log on to JMU Nation and see 156 of them. That's not the case. It's how the bracket lines up. It's how regionality works. I think we can make it to Fargo, and then let's see what happens there. Let's see, any kind of lock. Nothing that wouldn't be a hot take that would take a lot to come down. I don't have like a VMI type of take. You want me to give you one? Missouri State makes the quarterfinals.
Okay, Missouri State pulling an upset, making it to the quarters. I like it. Chris, same thing, man. Overall thoughts as we're in our finale here about this bracket.
I'll say congratulations to the committee. It is a tough job. I will say this year, I think it got really easy for them today. I think we all agree that there's I don't think we have any complaints. Every team that missed, we all kind of thought would probably miss. There's not that one blatant how could like a couple of years ago when it was Southern Illinois, and you're like, how did they get left out? I don't feel like there is any of that this year. I feel like the committee got, the best 24 teams they are allowed to put in via, automatic qualifying and everything. I think we're set up to have a really good bracket. Like I said, I think almost every single matchup next week should be a good matchup. I think going through the entire playoffs. I will say the way this is set up, I don't see us getting a new champion this year. I don't think like an ETSU, a Sac State can make that move. I think you're going to probably see, like Jamie said, I know it's not a hot take, but like I really think somebody like Sam Houston, Villanova, James Madison, Montana, or North Dakota State have a real good shot to make it to the ship and win it this year. I don't think anybody new will be lifting the trophy in Frisco.
Well, all 4 of us here will be there regardless, as the admins have everything booked for our trip down there. We hope you guys make it. We'll buy you a few beers. Chris, amazing take, and I'm with you. We've got that question a lot about parity this year, and it's looking like, heck, you might just have some of the same old characters down there, but you never know. Chaos
They'll have to earn it this year too. I for sure.
For sure. Kylor, your final thoughts, my man, about this bracket, overall opinions.
No, I think the bracket looks overall pretty good. It sucks it's not seeded 1 through 24. That'd make it a much more intriguing bracket. It is what it is. But what I will say is my guarantee is 2+ seeds are going to lose their first game. That's kind of my guarantee, and it doesn't happen that often, I don't think, without me looking at the history. I think 2+ seeds lose the very first game. So, yeah, that's my guarantee. But overall, I think the bracket looks pretty good.
Overall, not too bad. If I were to look at it, yeah, it's one of the better ones. If I was looking at teams that should be happy, this would be kind of my takeaway. Who should be happy? I think Sam Houston should be pumped. Montana State, you kind of did it to yourselves, but I don't think they should be very happy knowing it'll be Missouri State and then likely Sam Houston. Villanova, very happy. I don't think going out to Sac State is too much of a tall task. It's a big travel, but I think they should be pumped. And on the other side of the bracket, my takeaways are North Dakota State fans should be crazy happy. And the Grizz and Montana fans should think, if we get to the semis in Fargo, based off what we've come through, why can't we go win? Because holy moly, have we not already proven we can beat good teams? They might be really hot at that time. If you come off of big wins over Selah,
yeah.
I mean, there's no reason they can't go into Fargo and win, especially based off some of the struggles the Bison have had. So I don't think there's anything clear cut, but I'm with you, Chris. I think your champions are going to come out of the seeds, or at least your appearances, and then your champion from it. So very exciting. All right, guys. FCS Bracket Challenge. Great one right here at the last for our Facebook user. Yes, absolutely. The FCS Bracket Challenge is going to return. I am going to get that posted up maybe tonight, probably tomorrow, but you will have an opportunity to win a free team hat by winning the Facebook Bracket Challenge. Underneath the official post, you will need to post a bracket with a legible picture so I can print it off and then track things and we can see our winner. So that's always a fun time. It's absolutely free to play. It doesn't cost you a thing. Just give me something legible. So FCS Fans Nation, make sure you guys like, subscribe on YouTube for our podcast here. It really helps support us as we continue to grow numbers. We've hit over 330 at some point of viewers, still 140 strong right now. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. This episode will be available on repeat on all our podcast platforms, on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple, and of course on YouTube as well. For Jamie, Chris, Kylor, and myself, we hope you guys enjoyed the FCS selection special here with FCS Fans Nation. A little bit more knowledge than the ESPN Talking Heads, and we look forward to a very exciting round 1 right after Thanksgiving and see what round 2 brings. Normal podcast setup with your fan questions guiding it will return next Sunday after 2 weeks of specials. Besides that, guys, we look forward to it. We hope you and your family have an amazing Thanksgiving. The spring season, the things that came before it were very tough on everybody. Be thankful for what you have. Embrace your family. Embrace your friends. Eat some good food. Watch my Dallas Cowboys win. And we will see you guys on our next episode. FCS Fans Nation, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one. Boom.
Thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred listening platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, or even YouTube. And make sure to follow our FCS Fans Nation social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening to the premier podcast for FCS football. Boom.